My first affirmation is, I am not confused. Sit with that for a moment. Play with it in your mind. Play with it in mouthfeel by saying it out loud, letting your ears hear your own self affirm, I am not confused. Confusion is the main dish served in the house of narcissism, y'all. It makes me want to go into my Wicked Witch of the West voice. When you're confused, it's better to control you with, my pretty. Remember to find Emotional Badass wherever you get your podcasts and hit that subscribe button so you never miss a thing. Hello, welcome to Emotional Badass, where Moxie meets Mindful. I'm your host, Nikki Eisenhower, life coach and psychotherapist. And on today's episode, I'm sharing quick and powerful affirmations for emotional resilience and narcissistic abuse recovery. All right, y'all, I have a quick announcement, and we're excited to let you know that starting this week, we'll be uploading every brand new episode to our Patreon feed that will be ad-free. So if you would like to both support us and listen to our episodes without the interruption of advertisements, head on over to patreon.com/emotionalbadass and join at the $5 level. You'll also get access to over 75 exclusive episodes not available anywhere else. I'd like to give some quick shout outs to some of our new Patreon members because that's part of what you get when you sign up for our Patreon. A good old fashioned shout out. I want to thank Rebecca, Jennifer, Susan, Dave, Jen and Jamie as a duo. Thank y'all very much. I want to thank Yeti, Sarah May, Joe, Rach, Holly, Heather, Shannon, Alexa, and Damien. Thank y'all so much. We appreciate it. And we can't do the show without you. Light and love, and on to the show. All right, y'all, affirmations. It's one of those words in self-healing and self-development that we hear all the time. And the information is in the word. We want to affirm. That's what we're doing when we entertain affirmations. We are affirming positively what we want. And when we're talking affirmations, we want this to be in a positive light. It's so easy in the human condition. It's just the way we are made. It is universal that our psychology more easily wants to focus on what we don't want, what we don't have, what isn't working. Some of that is biological. Some of that is survival. Some of that is how we have evolved over time. Back in caveman days, it didn't really serve us to sit around and pay attention to what was positive. In survival mode, we don't do that. We pay attention to what is negative, the storms that could come, the predators that could attack us, the lack of food, the lack of firewood. It's how we survived. It's how humanity has gotten all the way to here. So we want to work with our natural psychology and not let that natural survival mode that is so biologically wired into us take over and make us focus on what we don't have, which feels crappy, frankly, feels low vibe. It feels negative. And we start to feel a swirling down into a negativity vortex when we're focusing on everything that isn't working, everything we don't have. We want to use our precious energy, our precious time, spent on ideas that we'd like to embody, what we want. Now, I make a little exception here when I'm talking to survivors of manipulation, survivors of great dysfunction in childhoods. I'm going to quote one of my favorite hippiest of dippiest teachers out there, Abraham Hicks. She says, when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. So despite everything I just said, we are going to allow ourselves to look at what we don't want as a road to get to what we do want. A feature of manipulative emotional abuse is that it leaves one feeling really indecisive and in a state of confusion. I want you to be able to grow into your power. And part of that is letting go of this familiarity and constancy of staying so confused. Some of us here will be growing into our power because it's just the natural next step in our own personal self-development paths. Others will be growing into their power after surviving significant dysfunction from personalities that gaslight and manipulate and put down. So meet yourself where you are and take yourself where you'd like to go. My first affirmation is, I am not confused. Sit with that for a moment. Play with it in your mind. If you can, play with it in mouthfeel by saying it out loud, letting your ears hear your own self affirm, I am not confused. Confusion is the main dish served in the house of narcissism, y'all. It makes me want to go into my Wicked Witch of the West voice. When you're confused, it's better to control you with, my pretty. When I've taught yoga, part of what I've taught is that the body hides. Now, what does that mean? That means if I ask you to keep your legs straight, to stand tall, and to bend at the waist, to attempt a forward fold where our hands are reaching for the ground, what I'm teaching is for you to keep a very long, extended back. Because if you don't, your back's going to round, your knees are going to bend, and you're going to hide from your own stretch. The body hides, it contorts so that you don't have the proper stretching, because that proper stretching is intense. And in a proper stretch, we don't go as far as we want to go. So the body finds ways to hide so that the ego can make us seem like we're stretchier than we are, that we've gone further than really we've been able to go if we hold proper alignment. Now, the mind and the heart, those also hide. They hide from what's hard, from the work that needs doing. It often uses confusion to be the mechanism of hiding. Because when we're not hiding from what needs to be done in our lives, we really need to go into action. And there's action required when we finally realize, oh, I'm not confused. What is happening is neither sustainable, enjoyable, healthy, or right for me, for this season, for what I want out of my one precious life. I spent so much time in my 2 former marriages that ended in divorce being confused. Because as long as I was confused, I could also have hope that something could be done. When I sat with myself and stopped being perpetually confused and dealt with what I knew to be true, I wasn't being met halfway. The partners I was dragging, kicking, and screaming to therapy weren't interested in truly doing the work. Yes, it was confusing for me as someone who will dive head first into deep waters to do the work. I was confused, realizing, oh, everybody's not like that. There are people who don't want that. So do you see how we might be inviting confusion when the reality is really hard to deal with? The reality means, I really have to make some changes. I can't just play and keep wading in this confusion water. I have to dry off, get on land, get my feet under me solidly, and take some steps. What are you just not confused about? And yet some part of you keeps coming back to confusion. What would happen if you started playing around with this affirmation, playing around with this idea, offering yourself something different than what might be a familiar confusion state? What if you allowed yourself to affirm, I do know what's going on, and I can handle what I need to do to make changes. I am not confused. All right, my second quick, powerful affirmation is I matter. 2 little bitty old words, y'all. I matter. What happens when you hear me say that? Do you feel a resistance? Do you feel a sadness? What do those feelings mean for you and to you? I matter. Say it to yourself. And if you're resistant, what is that about? And will you allow that resistance to have the power today? Or will you shift and allow yourself to practice such a powerful affirmation? I matter. It's your one precious life. How could you not matter in and to your one precious life? It is as simple as there is air, there is sky, there is earth, there are birds, there are dogs, and yes, you matter. Why? Because you exist. My heart, my mind, my feelings, my desires, my boundaries, my peace, my sanity, my self-worth, all of it matters. I matter. This affirmation is a taking back of power. Some of you don't know how to love and embrace your own stubbornness. Some of you possess a beautiful stubbornness. I have the beautiful stubbornness. When we put our stubbornness, our headstrongness on the right things instead of the wrong things, what a superpower. Now, maybe you, like me, have been told over a lifetime that your stubbornness is bad, your hard-headedness, not an asset. I challenge that. What happens if you use stubbornness to hold on to I matter? No matter how you feel, no matter what life struggles get thrown your way, maybe wave after wave after wave, like an ocean of struggle. What if you stubbornly held on to I matter despite it all? I matter is a taking back of sanity. I matter is a taking back of self-efficacy and agency. This is very important in any kind of abuse recovery. Now, I will share with you that very early in my 20s, that time where technically I was an adult, but I sure didn't feel like one. One of my father's other victims, there were 4 of us that ultimately came forward. I reported 6 months earlier, and for 6 months, all other victims that I suspected were victims of my adoptive father were silent. They swore up and down that they had not been touched or abused in any way, and I just waited with a spiritual patience that I can't understand, comprehend, or really believe without a spiritual lens, because it was just a spiritual wave that washed over me, unlike anything else in my life, that I just needed to have patience and they would come forward. One of those victims stood by my dining table, and I knew she was about to disclose. And the very first thing she said was, "It doesn't matter because it doesn't happen anymore." It does matter. You matter. You've always mattered. And it matters now. That's what I told her in that moment. And whatever's happened to you, I'm telling it to you now. You do matter. Do not encourage your own disappearance of your own experience here. Do not minimize your experience. That doesn't mean I'm encouraging exaggerating any experience either. But we simply learn to own it. Why? Because I matter, you matter, we matter, our experience matters. It's only our hurt that tries to convince us that we don't matter. Please don't believe that voice born only of dysfunction. I matter. Now, my next affirmation might seem overly simple. I want to ask you to really sit with it. It's a derivative of I matter. It is, I am lovable and I am likable. Now, this sounds almost ridiculously simple, huh? But what happens when you sit with this? I am lovable and I am likable. All of us start out as brand new babies, every single one of us. Now, it's easy to look at a nursery of brand new babies in a hospital and so clearly understand that we are all worthy. Every single baby in life just as worthy as the next. How could anything else be true? What must happen to a human being for a baby to evolve into a human being that disbelieves in their own likability and lovability? Whatever you've experienced in your life, I urge you not to let it shape who you are if it was negative or shaming or harmful. Go back to the day you were born, that most precious day. Start believing as a willful act, as a resistance to the shame. Start believing that you belong, that you have a tribe, that you are likable and you are lovable. How do I know that you fit and you are likable and lovable? Because you're a part of my tribe. You made it, yeah, you're hearing me choke up. You made it all the way to here. And you started this journey as that precious baby. Jumping ahead of myself and giving you a sneak peek. Another favorite affirmation is my worth is unchanging. You are just as worthy today as the day you were born, before you made all your human mistakes, before you've had all your human experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly. If there is something that you need to face forgiving yourself for, to be able to see yourself as lovable and likable, consider leaning into facing that inner work so that you may learn to see and feel yourself as lovable and likable. Because the baby that you were, I will die on this hill, y'all. The baby you were absolutely deserves that from grown-up you. If your family of origin didn't know how to raise you in a way that you knew how to like and love yourself, then this is a gift of reparenting. And only you can give it to yourself. I can sit on this microphone and I can say all kinds of things over and over again through countless episodes for years. But if you don't step into your power to reparent yourself, to offer yourself the very things that your family may not have known because of inadequacy or toxicity, how to give to you, what are we even doing? The first time in my life that a therapist asked me as a young woman to write down what I loved and liked about myself, I looked at her and I said, well, if you would have asked me to list out the things I don't like and love about myself, I would probably need extra paper. She made me sit there for minutes that felt like hours, racking my brain to come up with something that I just simply liked about me. That's very sad that any human being would have such a moment. If you, like me, have had such moments, I urge you to have some very different moments as a very act of self-love towards self-likability. Today, I happen to be on this microphone teaching and helping others do the very thing that I once couldn't do. 2 decades later, in a way that that version of me could not have imagined. And yet here I am. I'm a bona fide expert in this stuff now. If I went back in time and said that to younger me, she'd have a real hard time believing I've gotten all the way to here. If that's true for me, what is possible for you? Don't doubt how far you can go. Or if I say that better, go ahead and doubt how far you might be able to go in your healing and on this journey, but go anyway. You may be very, very surprised in some of the best, most beautiful ways possible in this lifetime. All right, here we are. This is where I have, my worth is unchanging for you. 4 words, y'all. My worth is unchanging. Do you want to argue with that? Notice if that's your critical voice wanting to argue with that, or if that's your wise woman, wise man, highest self part. I don't believe a highest self part can argue with this. Our worth is unchanging. Why would my worth be any different in my 40s than the year I was born? Why? Because I've made mistakes? Because I'm flawed? Because I'm a fallible human being? Because I've stumbled? Those aren't reasons that should affect my worth. We make mistakes in this life because that is how we learn. What baby learns to walk without falling on their booty a lot, without lots of stumbling? To not allow your own mistakes and to allow your mistakes to damage your own self-worth is just wrong. I implore you to dig deep and find some permission within yourself to grow into this belief. You don't have to believe it just because you're hearing me utter these words today. Give yourself a shot to grow into this belief. My worth is unchanging. What might change for your vibration, for your frequency, for the way that you hold your own energy, your own self, your own one precious life, if you were to grow into the belief by affirming and affirming and affirming and affirming, my worth is unchanging. This is my newest affirmation that I've had a lot of fun with. I shared it with a group that I run and they all lit up. So I want to share it with you. What I want wants me. Now sit with that. What I want wants me. If you are a childhood trauma and chaos survivor, likely in direct or conscious ways and covert subconscious ways, we may have been operating under some trauma-taught beliefs that makes life seem and feel as if everything is uphill, as if the things that I want are in opposition to me, as if I have to fight for every good thing in this life. And what that is in a far too constant, far too familiar survival mode. Survival is most definitely uphill. And there are moments in this life where we very much need to turn on that survival mode. But it's certainly not every life moment. And as important as it might be to turn on survival mode, it may be infinitely more important to learn what it is to turn it off. This affirmation is towards the personal power of shifting into thriving mode. And if you have had too much surviving, my goodness, do you deserve to shift into thriving? How do we do that? Let's just start simply right here by affirming what I want wants me. To affirm and allow the idea that what I want wants me is a way to align your energy with possibility, the possibility of positive outcome. Hypervigilance makes one think that it's very smart to always look at the potential for the negative, the potential for what could go wrong. You can use your beautiful stubbornness to say no to that and to shift into the power of your possibility, the power of allowing, with a great permission, that positivity is available to you. It's just as available to you as it is to me, as it is to celebrities, as it is to famous authors that you probably like and love and admire. It's an awful reality that it's naturally easier for us to align with griping and complaining and fear and harping on what we don't have yet and how hard everything is. That's easy in the human condition. It's so easy. Every politician you've ever listened to does that. What a respect of your personal power and energy to practice what I want wants me as we walk the path of our lives. Do you need to feel more struggle? Are you inviting in more struggle by setting your sights to everything that's struggle bussy? Or not? Do you need to feel more ease? Would you like to feel more ease? Do you have permission to feel more ease? Or is the permission only to brace for what's hard? The vulnerability inside of us will mindlessly choose to focus on what you don't have, as if that's some kind of proof that you can never have it. What a lie. The fear of disappointment has us focusing on what sucks instead of what is possible. What happens if you allow and open up to the idea that what I want wants me? That I can handle disappointment, and I'm not going to dim my light. I'm not going to dim my hope. I'm not going to dim the possibility of positivity for me in my life. And from now on, I allow myself to believe that what I want wants me. I want ease. I want light. I want abundance. I want joy. I want depth. I want play. What I want wants me. What do you want? If you want peace, I invite you to not put it off another month, to just close your eyes, jump off that diving board, and jump into emotional strength training, 30 Days to Peace. I want to share with you some comments from participants who are going through the course right this second. The next group will go through starting on the 1st. This participant says, "In yoga, I never understood the power of this pose. Today's instruction helped me find the strength of the pose and why it is important. I felt centered, rooted, stable, and strong. Thanks for the instruction and helping me find the meaning of this pose!" Exclamation point. Here's another. "This was very helpful in finding the lesson in past regrets and leaving the regret in the past and bringing only the wisdom forward. I will be using this exercise as needed to handle regret in a more positive way. I am looking forward to losing some of the emotional baggage tied to past regrets and keeping only the lesson. Thank you for this tool. You are so welcome." Here's another. "I finally found my place to imagine when meditating. After all these years trying to relax and envision a place, it came!" Exclamation point. Here's another. "Wow, just wow, wow, wow. Nikki, you continue to amaze me. I am beyond grateful," all caps, "for this course and all of your content. It resonates so deeply within my soul. You understand me. It's like you're describing me and my life to myself. I said I found her by accident and then realized it was no accident at all. The universe and God directed me to you. Thank you infinitely. After listening today, I realized I am never in my gut. I pay no attention to it and don't believe it when it does try to tell me something. But in retrospect, it has never lied. Very, very interesting. I will be using and practicing this. Looking forward to the rest of this course, light and love." Thank you so much for that. I'm so glad you found your gut. All right, one more, y'all. "I felt so calm and relaxed after doing this exercise. My lungs and airways felt so open afterward. I could feel the extra oxygen in my brain. This will be a great tool coming from someone who is constantly holding their breath." Emotional strength training, 30 Days to Peace. Every lesson is no more than 15 minutes. Most are in the 7 to 8 minute range. All you do is get a little email once you're signed up in the morning to your inbox for 30 days. We need to practice peace as sensitive people. If you had a chaotic childhood, peace is the very thing that no one throughout all of my therapeutic experience encouraged me to practice. It's why this is something I've created for all of you that resonate with my work. To save 30%, use code BADASS. Come to emotionalbadass.com/peace and sign up today. Emotional Badass is part of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. I am an emotional badass. You are an emotional badass. And together we are where Moxie meets mindful. Light and love. And I'll see you right here next time for a brand new episode. And I'll see some of you in the Patreon for our next live stream and for commercial-free episodes. Bye-bye.